Well, my mother was a child under Reverend Fawcett, so her relationship was as a child, and she grew up and she knew him. But my family has served in every capacity except the minister. They have served in the missionary, in the ushers, as officers, and those are the kind of things that my family have been associated with the church that has kept them here.
Okay.
Church.
Okay, and going back to your mother, can you share with me any of the things that your mother said about her early years in this church and knowing Reverend Peter Fawcett?
My mother, well, she always enjoyed talking about the childhood and how she grew up in the church and the things that the church accomplished while she was still there. But one thing she always made known to us was how Reverend Fawcett was considered not only in the church, not only in the neighborhood, by the city of Cincinnati, how they respected his authority, how they respected his visions, and how they cooperated, and how they would call on him for help. Like, for instance, when the Union Baptist Church, and at the time he was a member there, when they wanted to purchase some property in Price Hill, which was predominantly white, and they needed a surveyor. At that time, they didn't have, from what my mother said, they didn't have registered surveyors, so they just called on somebody that they felt could do the job. They sought out Reverend Fawcett, who was then a member of the church, and asked him if he would be their surveyor and go to Price Hill, and whatever amount of land that he said was available to be purchased, they would accept it without any question. And he did this. He went out there and he walked off Union Baptist Cemetery, and the church purchased it based on the information that he supplied to the city.
Okay.
And it was done at a very good price. I can remember my mother saying that Reverend Fawcett served without pay. But how he was compensated was the neighborhood would take in once a month. They would take in things to help him. Not that he needed it, but just as appreciation, because as you have stated, he was a caterer, and a very affluent caterer. In fact, he catered into some of the richest homes in the city of Cincinnati. And she would say how just for in appreciation, the church would just give him some little benefits. He required nothing. And the land that they built a church on, he was the one that sought out this property and purchased it.
Isn't that something?
And gave it to the church. Those are the kind of things that I can remember my mother telling me about Mr. Fawcett. My mother was well acquainted with his granddaughter.
And her name was?
Bessie Curtis. My mother was acquainted with his cousin, Miss Clara Nelson, who was the wife of one of the leading black physicians here in the Cincinnati. My mother knew Mr. Will Anderson, who was the first black printer in Cincinnati, who was in the family. So my mother knew all these people personally, and she always spoke so fondly of them because they were achievers. All of them did good things. Those are the kind of things Mama would tell, would talk to us about Reverend Fawcett. And